Hi everyone, welcome back to Crafting at Whimsy Wonderland. My name is Stacy. Today I'm going to do something I've never done before. It's something I've just been learning about in this last couple of weeks, and it's something I wanted to give a try to. And it's called a barn quilt. Now barn quilts are usually painted on the side of a barn in like really huge scale to decorate the side of the barn. So what I'm finding people doing is they're making them out of wood blocks, or they're painting them onto just a piece of plywood. So I thought that sounded like a fun thing to try using these wood planks from the Crafter's Square. These are the 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch ones, and there's 6 in a pack. You're going to need 16 blocks, so you need 3 packs, 2.5 packages, but you'll need to buy 3 unless you have a couple extras hanging around the craft room. So I've got my 16 blocks, and I just kind of took a little sandpaper and made sure that the sides were smooth and didn't have any little fuzzies hanging off of them. But here's what I'm talking about. I went on to Pinterest to kind of find some ideas, and these are ones that I pinned. And the one I'm interested in making, because it's really simple, is this one. I'm going to use different colors though. Okay, this is something you could buy. But this is the pattern I'm going to be using. Okay, and the reason I'm doing this one is because, oops, I'm sorry, that is not the one. I hit the wrong button. Well, this one right here is what I'm going to be doing, okay, because what it is just squares, and they're painted in half. Okay, that's something that's sold on Etsy, but it's patterns I've found. I was just kind of looking on Etsy for color combinations, but I really want to do this in red. So where you see the dark navy blue, I will paint that red. Where you see the white, I'm going to use Antique Wax by Waverly. And where you see that greenish blue in the middle will be this bright pool blue from Waverly. Okay, I'm going to do it all in chalk paint, and I'm going to just start with this simple, easy pattern, and then we'll see how it goes. If I like doing it, I might make another one, because there's another simple pattern on there that I like, but I will cut down those wider, longer planks that they have. So here's the paint colors. They're all Waverly chalk paint. You can get them all at Walmart. This is Ocean, Antique Wax. Antique Wax isn't really a paint, it's a wax, so it has a different texture to it. And then Lacquer. It's a nice deep red. You could also use crimson. You can use any colors that would go with your decor style. And you are going to need blue tape. Okay, so I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to mask from corner to corner, because you're just going to paint these blocks in half. That's what makes this so simple. Half will be red or blue, and half will be the Antique Wax. So I'm going to start with my color, but I'm going to mask off all of these first. And to make this pattern, you're going to need 4 of them that are blue and antique, and 12 of them that are red and Antique Wax. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get all of these masked off in exactly the same way, just going corner to corner. I'm using blue tape. It's painter's tape. You could probably just use regular masking tape, because you're not going to be masking over a paint at the beginning. Just going to be masking over the wood. So, okay. Make sure you push that down really well so that you don't get bleeding under the tape. Alright, I'm going to pause this, get all of these taped out, and I'll be back as soon as I'm ready for the next step. Alright, I have all 16 of my blocks taped off. Make sure you look at both sides of your plank, because some were nicer looking on one side than the other, because it is plywood. And also, I'm going to be using like a staining effect with the Antique Wax for the brown part, so I also chose the side that had the nicest looking grain in the wood. I didn't care too much about the way the direction the grain went. I don't think that's going to matter so much. I could be wrong, but anyway. So I'm going to start with the 4 that need to be painted blue, just so that I don't accidentally forget to save them out. And I'm just going to go ahead, and I'm trying not to paint toward the tape, because I don't want there to be any bleeding under the tape, I need a nice crisp line. The more crisp your lines are, I think the better your design will come out. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the edges because I don't know for sure how well these are going to all fit together and if it's going to show or not. So I'm going to go ahead and paint them so we don't have any raw wood. I'm going to leave the tape on for a few minutes. I'm not going to leave it on until it's dry though. Make sure my tape is pressed down. Also, when you're taping it, take the time to be careful and get your corners nice and straight, because the better, you want nice crisp corners on this to make your design work. Okay, once again, this color is the color Ocean from Waverly chalk paint. Got it at Walmart. Had it for a little while, so I think they're doing better now at getting supplies in. At the beginning of the pandemic, it was terribly hard to get things, but paint's getting better now. Alright, so that one's done. I'm not worrying too much about the back because I'm going to be gluing this together using popsicle sticks, so the back isn't going to be pretty. I'm going to have to figure out a way to cover the back. Or I could maybe find a board to glue these onto. So, anyway. Alright, while I'm painting these, I'm going to talk to you a minute about if you don't have these and you can't find these pieces of wood, what can you use instead? Instead, you could use foam core board and cut squares. You wouldn't be able to put that outside though, even after it's sealed, because foam core is just basically paper. But that is an option if you're going to hang it like in your kitchen or somewhere like that. You could use the long skinny planks. I have an easier time finding the long skinny planks rather than these square ones. But you could use the long skinny planks and cut them. You would have a little bit smaller. When this is all put together, it's going to be 18 inches by 18 inches. But if you had to cut them, I think you would make 3 or 3.5 inch squares. And these are 4.5 inch, so you'd have quite a bit smaller. Let's see, what else could you use? You could use squares of cardboard. You could use a canvas, a big square canvas, and just draw your lines and tape them out and paint the canvas. You could, I don't know, you could cut geometrical shapes on your Cricut and glue them together and, you know, make a paper collage type thing. That could work. Would be a lot of work, but it could work. Alright. Looks like these are coated pretty well. Sometimes the raw wood really soaks in the paint, and so I wanted to be ready for that if I needed to put a second coat on these. Now, these are done, so except for the other sides. I'm going to go ahead and peel off this tape. And look how nice and crisp those lines are. I love to see that. Okay, I'm going to go get this brush cleaning, and then I will come back and we'll do the other color. Alright, next up is my red squares. The remainder of them will be red, and I'm using the Waverly chalk paint in the color Lacquer. Make sure you've got your tape pushed down really well. Don't shake your chalk paint before you use it. I find that that kind of gives it too many bubbles and whatnot. Stir it if you need to, but I try to stir it and then let it sit for a little bit. And I just like the paint to kind of have a little bit of time to blend back together. I don't know. I don't know if that helps or hinders or what, but okay. I've got a couple little chunkies in my paint, so I need a paper towel handy. And the red isn't as dark as the blue, so I have a feeling that I might need to put a second coat on this. So, yeah. Make sure that you brush all of your strokes in the same direction before you put it to dry, because when we get to a later step, your brush strokes might show a little bit. And what I'm using for my drop cloth here, if you've been around my channel, you know that I do a lot of decoupaging at Christmas time with window cleaning stickers. And these are the pages that come off, those come off of. I always save them because they're plastic coated and make really nice paint cloth or paint mat things. They clean up really easy. You can wipe them up if you think to do that. I don't always do that, so sometimes they're really messy, but they do a good job. And it's recycling instead of just throwing them away. Alright, here's this set of 4. I'm doing them in sets of 4 because 4 times 4 is 16, and 4 fit nicely onto one of these little mats. So that's my reasoning behind 4. Alright. I love peeling painter's tape off of things and seeing those nice crisp edges appear. These are going to be so pretty. I can't wait to get this done. I don't think you need to watch me sit there and watch me paint 16 squares. You've already watched me paint 9. So I'm going to pause this and I'll come back as soon as we're ready for the next step. Okay, before you move on to this next step, you need to make sure that your blocks are all completely dry, okay? And what I've done into this cup, I've added about 3 tablespoons of water and about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons or so of antique wax. And there was a little bit dried up in the bottom of the cup, but it's rehydrating itself. So anyway, just kind of mix it till you get a thickness that you like. The thicker it is, the darker the color will be when you brush it on. Okay, and then I just stirred that up with a paintbrush. I'm going to start with my blue blocks, and I'm going to have some paper towels handy. And I'm just going to take this watered down paint and I'm going to brush it on the edges and then over the entire block. And this is going to give the color kind of an antiqued color. Make sure that you brush off all in one direction. And then you can take this paint onto the next block. Okay, and then the paper towels are here to blot, especially the colored side, because you just want to tone it down a little bit. You don't want it to be totally blank. And just kind of check your edges. Okay. And I'm going to just wipe this up. And this one is done, and it looks half painted and half stained. And that is exactly the look I was going for. I love this antique wax. When you water it down, it just becomes a beautiful stain color. Just kind of scrub it on and then brush it off. And then where you don't want it so thick, just take a paper towel. Yep, I smeared my blue. Just wipe it off. Add a little more brown. There you go. Oh, the blue is coming off of the mat. So that's, be careful when you're wiping if you've got glue globs like I do. Or paint globs, I should say. Blue paint globs. I just start with the edges so I don't forget to do them. I don't know how much they're going to show and how much it's going to matter, but just brush it on. Make sure that you brush the painted edges too, because you don't want that brighter color showing through if the blocks don't line up exactly right when you go to put it together. And if some of the paint gets, or the stain color gets onto the mat and onto the back of the block, that's okay. Not a big deal. This is why I said make sure that you use the prettier side of the grain of your wood so that when we stain it, it will be beautiful. All right. Clean up the puddles a little bit so that they dry a little faster. The backs are not pretty. So we'll have to do something to finish the back when we're all done. All right, I'm going to get rid of that paper towel. But look how pretty those look. Can't wait to see what the red ones look like. All right, new paper towel. Brush onto the edges. I'm just loving how this stain is transforming the color that I've already painted on here. It's just making it deeper and richer. If you don't want this weathered, distressed look, you don't have to paint it across the painted, put the stain on the painted part. You can just tape it off on the other side and just do the one side. That totally would work as well. All right, let's compare. There's a painted one and a non-painted one. Okay, it's really hard to see in this light, but look how much deeper and darker that got with just brushing that antique wax over it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this video and finish painting out my other 2 sheets worth of blocks, and then when they're all dry and ready to assemble, I will be back. All right, I've got all 16 of my blocks painted. These are going to take a little bit longer to dry because of the wood grain and the water that I mixed in, and we need to let that wood grain completely dry before we try to glue them together, because if there's moisture, I'm afraid that they just won't stick together very good. And now that I'm looking at them all painted, I am kind of wishing that I had taken the time and put the grain going the same direction on all of them. I think in the end it would probably end up looking nicer, but it is what it is. I have a few that are going the opposite direction, and well, that's just gonna have to be life. So this one's going side to side, so is this one. Got about half and half, it looks like. So pay attention to your grain, which direction it goes when you're taping them off, and just, it doesn't matter which way it goes, just decide on one and try to make all of them that way. But I just really like how these are looking, and the blue is drying a little lighter. I don't know, we'll see. I think that the colors together are going to be really pretty. It's going to look very Americana, I think, when it's done. All right, so I'm going to give these a couple hours to dry, and I will come back when it is time. All right, this is called a friendship star, and this is how I've put all of those pieces together. Sometimes the friendship star is the same color, so these would be red instead of blue. But I liked the way that the blue made it pop out and gave it a little more interest. You can also turn things around and make it a different pattern if you wanted to. But I wanted to stick with a pattern that had a name and seemed like a reason for being the way it is. So anyway, this is just going to be my first one out of hopefully many to come. And this is 18 by 18. And what I'd really like to be able to do is have a board that I could glue it onto. but I don't have a board big enough, and I also want to be able to put some kind of a frame on it when I'm done. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it together using craft sticks on the back. And what I've done is I've numbered each one on the back and put an arrow as to which way is up so that I don't get off when I go to glue these together. So I'm going to push this up, and I'm going to start with row number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'm going to get them as tightly together as I can, and I'm going to use the craft sticks to do that. So I'm going to cut the end, and I want to leave enough space for the cross stick to go. So I'm going to mark my stick and cut this. Now these are sticks from the, I think they're from the Dollar Tree. I don't know. They weren't in a package anymore. So you can kind of just eyeball whatever size your sticks are. So this is, let's see, 1, 2, 3 3¾ inches long. Okay, and that's going to go there, and that will allow the cross stick to go there and be a solid piece on there. So I'm going to cut 3 this same size. I'm shooting pieces all over the place. I didn't want the stick to go all the way to the very, very edge, so that's why I'm going with 3 3/4. All right, now I'm going to put hot glue all on this piece. I'm going to squish them together as closely as I can. And leave that space up there for the other stick to go. Okay, I'm going to immediately turn this over and make sure that there's no glue. Okay, then I'm going to do the next one. I'm being pretty generous with this hot glue. Okay, scoop that up just a little. I'm not using E6000 between these because I don't want any of the buildup that it would sometimes get from that. Okay, and the last one. Just be aware that some of your wood tiles are a little warped. Some feel a little thicker than others. You know, they're not top of the line, but we'll use them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put this to the side so that glue can harden up, and I'm going to do the next row. So this will be 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so I need to, this time I need to leave room for a stick on both sides. So it doesn't have to be a full stick, but okay. So this one ends up being 3 inches. And I'm going to cut 3 of them. I'd like to be able to keep all those pieces and get them into one place, but they're flinging everywhere, and that's okay. Alright, so those are going to go like that. Plenty of hot glue. Yeah, I am making a mess on this one. Make sure those blocks get together. I'm not sure about that one. That one was not my smoothest. Alright. I am just going to eyeball this one, centering it. Turn those over, make sure that they're doing good. And then I can bring this back. And let's just double check that we're getting our star going the right direction. Always better to double check rather than get a surprise. And yes, it is going the right way. Okay. Now you plan and you plan, but you never know. Alright, these are some jumbo craft sticks from Walmart. I'm going to go ahead and cut the ends off. This is just a wider piece of wood that I think will actually be a little bit stronger. My squares don't exactly line up. So since the squares don't exactly line up, I'm going to line up the center because I think that's the most important part. I'm going to be generous with my hot glue. And glue down this using a wider stick. I'll flip this over real quick, making sure, ooh, got some glue going there. Making sure we're getting what we want here. Okay. Put that up against there. I'm just going to mark and cut these bigger sticks as I go. I'm going to keep flipping it back and forth to make sure I'm not getting a bunch of glue piling up on the front like I am right here. If you get glue piling up, get it out of there while it's soft. And these don't fit together perfectly, so you're going to have some gapping, so prepare for that. Cut your sticks as straight going across as you possibly can. And make sure you zigzag your glue and get it to both sides. Lay it down and press. This little thing I'm using is just a hook that you use for cricket vinyl. You can also use one like they use in the dental section. It'd be cheaper. Go to Walmart and buy a $3 dental kit. You get the same tool, just cheaper. All right. So far, that's feeling pretty sturdy. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to glue the next. Oh, I love how that star came together in the middle just perfectly. Other parts of the thing are not perfect, but that coming together in the center makes me happy. Make sure you're squeezing your squares together as you're pressing down so you don't give that glue anywhere extra to go. Okay. And then we got to do one more. This glue is filled in this very center point, and I'm going to leave it because it kind of looks good. Alright, got one more row to make here. Flip it over, check for glue. Alright, this should be the last one. I'm going to turn this around so that I can do it easier, reach it easier. This one concerns me. We have a gap. It's quite a large gap. So, yeah, we're going to have to see how that works out. We're going to have lots of glue coming through here, because there is a gap. A rather large one. And I kind of don't know what to do about it. Maybe able to put some filler, like wood filler in there. It's kind of ugly on the back, but you know. You can cover that with craft paper or actually glue it to a board when I find out how big a one I need. I'm okay with glue being down inside of there. I just don't want it up flush with the top, because then you see it, and I don't want to see it because it's kind of shiny. And I don't want the shiny up against the wood. It just doesn't match. I don't know what I want to do for a hanger on this yet. I kind of want to frame it, but I also kind of want to just hang it as a board. Whatever I put on the back for a hanger, it will probably be like a jute loop or something like that. So I won't actually show you how I do that, because you've seen me do that 100 times. I might also use one of those cell phone ring holders from the Dollar Tree. So let me get this prettied up, and then I'll show you how it turned out. Alright, there you have it, my first of hopefully many wooden barn quilts. This measures 18 inches by 18 inches, and it used 16 of the square 4.5 by 4.5 inch wooden wooden planks from the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree. Be careful, because these squares are not all exactly the same size, so you might want to pay attention to that, and then maybe you can avoid these little gaps like I have right here and right there. But I'm really happy with how the center came together. All of the points pretty much match up. There's one that's a little bit off, but it's not too bad. Take the time to make sure that your tape is straight when you're masking them, and that will help a lot. And also make sure you clean the glue out from between the cracks when you're putting it together while the glue is still warm. I just love how this turned out. I love the earthy tones in it, and I love red. Red is my favorite color, and I use it in my kitchen a lot. And this color red is going to be really fun up with my farmhouse animal prints and things that I have already up on my walls. I can't wait to get it up there. As far as a hanger, I'll probably just use one of those cell phone ring holders from the Dollar Tree and attach it with E6000. Since wood is porous, it might not stick real well. So I'm going to make sure I glue that on if that's the way I decide to go. I might also decide to frame this out. I'm still not sure on that yet. A lot of them that I see are framed, and I think this would look nice framed. But I want to make several, so I'm going to make them all and then frame them all the same way so they can hang together. All right, let me know what you're thinking about this project in the comment section below. This cost me $3 plus paint. So for an 18 by 18 inch piece of art to go on the wall, $3 is not a bad price. It did take some time, but I learned a lot on this one, and I wanted to start with a simple pattern. And I really just love how this turned out. I like how the star is, and it's just really, really nice. So anyway, let me know what you think about this project in the comment section below. If you like this project, please give it a thumbs up. That helps my channel to grow. And hopefully this will be something you'll give a try to. Let me know. And if you do, are you going to use this pattern? Are you going to use these colors? What colors would you use? And if you want to find another pattern that is simple, just look at pictures on Pinterest and on the internet, because there are a lot of them. And if you just kind of picture it divided up in a grid, you'll easily be able to see that a lot of these are just made with squares that are painted in one way or another. Okay, this was really easy to paint. The easiest masking painting job I've done on any project. It just went smoothly. So let me know what you're thinking. All right, this has been Crafting at Whimsy Wonderland. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.